We had Bitcoin hit a all-time high today of 98,500. But I don't know about you, when I was watching the all-time high and people were congratulating me on the Bitcoin all-time high, this is what I felt like when your friends congratulate you on the Bitcoin price and you're balls deep in alts. Because the truth is that if you look at the altcoins, even though we've had a little bit of a recovery and we see a lot of green bubbles, right? If you compare them to Bitcoin, it's not a pretty picture. And the truth is that this not pretty picture, or this altcoin reckoning, while Bitcoin sucks out the liquidity from altcoins, will continue until such time as it's alt season. Which then begs the question, well, when is alt season actually going to start? So I've actually got the data, and I'm going to show you when the altcoin season is going to start. But I'm not only going to stop about when the altcoin season is going to start. I'm going to show you exactly what the data is. I'm going to show you when the altcoin season starts, how long it's going to last, how high we're going to go, and everything else that you need to know about alt season. And spoiler alert, it starts really, really soon. So maybe your alts are going to get wrecked, but they're only going to get wrecked for a very, very, very short time from now. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. So if that makes sense to you, then join the rest of the show. Let's go. Honestly, how many of you did this actually happen to today? Be honest. I know, because I've had lots of people tell me about the Bitcoin price today, and the truth is I'm balls deep in alts. And so, yeah, I mean, I've been happy, but I really feel like those guys are, you know. Anyway, big show today, because I do believe that liquidity is going to be sucked from Bitcoin into the altcoins until alt season actually begins, which then begs the question, when is alt season actually going to begin? We have been waiting a long time for alt season. In fact, you have been waiting over 500 days for alt season. We need to know when alt season is going to start. That's what I'm going to talk to you about today. I'm going to show you when it starts, how long it's going to last, how high it's going to go, and why this is going to be the biggest alt season you've ever seen. But unfortunately, until the alt season starts, the liquidity is going to be sucked out of the alts. So listen, if that tickles your fancy, what you need to do is subscribe to the channel like crazy people. Remember also that there is a link below to our new channel called Crypto Live. Sheldon was there today. I'm going to be there next week. At the end of the show, I'll show you where the link is. But for now, subscribe to this channel. Also, smash the like button. Let's obliterate the like button. I see we've already got 3,400 people here, and we've got a whole lot of likes. There's so much happening today. In fact, you know what I thought today? I thought that when we come to you today, I thought Bitcoin would be above 100K, or maybe I was hoping that Bitcoin would be above 100K, right? I even made like a thumbnail, really, and I thought like I'll make a thumbnail for 𝗕𝗢𝗕𝗓 and Carl and everybody to come and join me. But then we had a slight pullback in Bitcoin, and we had a slight recovery in the altcoin markets. For now, I mean, I think it's a very, very, very positive sign that we're moving up this fast, and we're going to soon tackle that key $100,000 level. Specifically, I mean, look at MicroStrategy. It looks like it's going to open at $546 when the market opens. That is absolutely crazy. I want to just show you, if you put that on the yearly chart, how's that for a chart? How is that for a chart? It's absolutely insane. And next week, what I'll do is I'll actually make a show for you guys to explain to you exactly how MicroStrategy works. So I think a lot of people don't really understand how this MicroStrategy thing actually works. And when you understand how it works, you kind of understand that Michael Saylor is just going to keep on buying. It's almost like Dr. Danish said. He said it is like a Ponzi, because he buys Bitcoin. In fact, I'm actually going to find that tweet for you. Let me quickly just find that tweet for you. It's a very, very, very good tweet. I mean, it's a bad tweet. Yeah, Operation Danish. I actually commented on his tweet. So let me see if okay. So it says, let's just quickly find it. Let's find that tweet from him. He calls MicroStrategy a Ponzi. He says, honest question, how is MicroStrategy not considered a Ponzi? He says, MicroStrategy stock goes up. Saylor sells more MicroStrategy stock to buy Bitcoin. The buying increases the price of Bitcoin. This makes the price of MicroStrategy go up more, and round we go. And this is actually like quite true, but it's completely legal and it's not a Ponzi scheme. Also, MicroStrategy is not the only buyer. You'll be surprised to know. One of the other buyers is the ETFs, and the ETFs have now got over $103 billion in assets under management, in Bitcoin under management, believe it or not. So it looks like November is going to be amazing, and then December is going to be amazing. And November is playing out exactly as predicted. Quarter 4 is now 54% up. We have another 30% to go before we get to the average, which is the 83%. That actually happens. That is the average. We have usually an 85%. Sorry, not 83%. My correction. So we have another 30% to go, which means that we could get to 130,000 by the end of December, if history just repeats itself. That's it. So if history repeats itself. So all in all, amazing time for Bitcoin holders. That's for sure. And of course, I do have some Bitcoin in my portfolio. But I mean, let's address the elephant in the room, right? Because I don't know about you, but I know that this is how I felt this morning, or this. I love this. I'm not going to play the music because I'm going to get a copyright strike. But in fact, should I play the music and just deal with the copyright strike? I don't know. So it's like this meme, right? It's like this meme when Bitcoin hits 100K, but 95% of your portfolio is actually in altcoins, right? And you look at the look on Nicole's face and you're like, oh God, I know exactly how she feels. Exactly. Just look how much more sad she gets. And she's trying to be happy with everyone, but it's just not working. Anyway, look, that's unfortunately how a lot of us feel. And even though we have had some signs of life, I'll tell you, we have had some signs of life. That is the ETH candle that happened 2 hours ago. So this is like we're in the third hour now. So 2 hours ago, we got a massive ETH candle on massive volume. And the ETH BTC, which fell out of this range, actually went back into the range. Even though that happened, I still feel like these guys over here. Where he says, so you just accumulate Bitcoin and focus on your family, friends, and hobbies. And he says it's a peaceful life. And it's like, why do we do that? Why do we spend all our time in the altcoins? Specifically when we know that Bitcoin is at all-time highs. And then you've got altcoins when you compare them to Bitcoin, looking like this, right? So this is what the altcoins compared to Bitcoin look like. It's a very different picture if you compare it to USD, because you have had some kind of recovery. So you look here, you have had some kind of recovery, and you've had the Ethereum-based tokens actually go up. But the reality is that, hey, look at this, MOG is up. MOG is up 20%. You know why I'm excited about MOG going up? Because yesterday I told you that there is a new trader in Frontrunners. His name is 𝗕𝗘𝗧. And the first call that 𝗕𝗘𝗧 made was actually MOG in Frontrunners. So we have a new trader. His name is 𝗕𝗘𝗧. The guy's absolutely amazing. He's a meme coin degen like you've never met before. First call, amazing call. Remember, if you want to join Frontrunners, there is a Black Friday special, which is from now until next week, because next week is Black Friday. So sign up between now and next week, and you will get, I think it's like 50% off Friday or something like that. But this won't be repeated, and you can see the type of trades that are actually happening. There it is. That's the link for the Black Friday over there. Anyway, let's go back to it. So Bitcoin pumps, altcoins move. Altcoins look green, but actually aren't green, because what you're getting is a situation where Bitcoin is sucking the life out of the altcoins, and this will unfortunately continue until we hit this proverbial alt season, right? And the question then becomes, well, if that's the case, when are we actually going to get alt season? When does this alt season actually arrive? So I've got the data for you, and I want to show you exactly when the alt season will arrive. And the truth is that if you're tired, or you don't want to watch the rest of the show, or maybe you want to jump off and do something else, the truth is the alt season comes really soon. That's all you need to know. It's really soon. In the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how soon the alt season comes and what the data indicators that I'm looking for to tell me for sure that it is alt season, right? So let's look quickly at when alt season, and I want to break it down into a couple of different sectors. The first thing is you can just look at the basics, right? You can just look at the charts, the cycles. And what you can see is that if you look at the alt BTC pairs, there was 539 days of chop until the bottom in the last cycle. And in this cycle, so far, we've had 511 days. So 511 days, 539 days. It looks from this that if we follow exactly, and you never ever follow exactly, that this bottomed on the 28th of December. The altcoin versus the BTC pairs bottomed on the 28th of December. So that is what happened in the previous cycle. So if you want to make it like really, really simplistically and you just want to talk about the cycles, well, that's the first way that you could look at it. And you can actually compare the cycles, because if you look at the cycles, this cycle is tracking very much like all the other cycles. So it's not like you can use just a very simplistic measure that you can do it. The next one you can look at is you can look at consecutive weeks after breaching the all-time high. What happened to Bitcoin dominance? So we look at Bitcoin dominance and we say, when did Bitcoin dominance actually drop? And in all three cases, it came 3 weeks, 3 consecutive weeks after we broke the all-time high. So again, if you want to use just looking at it very, 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 very simplistically, just look at the charts and say, okay, one chart says there's about 25 days left, more or less. Another chart says 3 weeks after consecutively beating the all-time high. We've had 2 of those weeks, so we're getting into the 3rd week of beating those all-time highs. And again, if you want to just keep it, this is the very simplistic way of doing it. If you want to look at the simple way of doing it, if you want to make money in crypto, you can just look at the cycles. Pre-halving year, hold BTC and USD. That's the best trade. On the halving year, go long BTC, short USD, right? In the post-halving year, which is the one we're about to go into now, you go long alts and you go short USD. You basically sell your USD and you buy alts. And in the bear market, which we don't want to talk about, you go long USD and you go short crypto. Okay, so for now, this is the simple way of understanding when alt season is going to come. All of these indicators are telling you that it's between 7 and 20 days away. Okay, so this is simplistically, we're going to get more and more complicated, but simplistically, this says 25 or so more days. This says about another week or 2. And so these simplistically, those are the ones that are saying that when alt season starts. Let's move on to a slightly more technical indicator. And that technical indicator is actually not Bitcoin, it's actually ETH, right? And I told you earlier today that ETH finally got a bid, believe it or not. People were watching in disbelief as ETH finally got a bid. And if you look at the bubbles, that's the bid on ETH. Let's go into the hourly, because it doesn't happen very often. So when it does, we should celebrate it as if it's the first time. So as you can see, on huge volume, we have the hourly on ETH absolutely exploding. And this couldn't have come at a better time. And I'll explain to you why. So generally, alt season starts when ETH BTC experiences a bottom. And if you take the trend line from all these years, that the bottom coincidentally always comes in December, specifically when you look at election years. So 2016 was an election year. The bottom for ETH BTC was in December. 2020, the bottom for ETH BTC was also in December. And now we're 4 years later, and the bottom for ETH BTC may be upon us. Why do I say it may be upon us? Well, if you look at this channel, that has been a downward sloping channel actually for about 3 years. So this is the ETH BTC channel, and it's been a downward moving channel for about 3 years. Let me actually get us into the weekly. It'll just make our lives a lot easier. There it is. Okay, so that's the channel. That channel has been, it's not 3 years, it's about 2 years. We've been in this downward channel. And what happened yesterday was we actually, when BTC went rampant, we actually broke below this channel. But now, as you can see, we're back up in this channel. Now, what we expect, if history repeats itself, is that we should start clawing our way back up this channel over here now. Because this usually comes at the bottoms. As I mentioned to you before, if you look historically where the bottoms have come, December, this one was a little bit earlier, but if you go all the way here, generally the ETH BTC bottoms actually come in December, right? And so I think that is what's actually happening. Another thing that you may want to look at is you may want to look at some real fundamental data. And this is where we're going to get a little bit more technical. So if you look at the ETF flows, and you take a deep look into the ETF flows, what you know is that the investors in the US, specifically the big money investors in the US, only have 2 options where they can really invest. They can invest in Bitcoin and they can invest in ETH, because those are the only 2 instruments where there is an ETF. At some point, they're going to get Bitcoin fatigue, where they're going to say, look, I'm not going to get any more returns on Bitcoin. And then they're going to go into the ETH ETF because they don't really have much of an option. They're not like us, where we can go into Sol and we can go into Doge and we can go into Ili. You know, we can get degen. They can't get degen. And so I look at a couple of data points which I think are worth noting. The first data point which I think is worth noting is actually a very simple data point. where you say, okay, what's the total assets under management for Bitcoin ETFs? It's $103 billion. So right now, as we talk, as we stand today, there is $103 billion, which is locked up in Bitcoin ETFs, right? Then you've got the ETH ETF, and the ETH ETF only has $9 billion locked up. Now, that's a little bit of an arbitrage. And the reason why I say it's a little bit of an arbitrage is because if you look at the market cap of ETH, the market cap of ETH is 400 billion. And the market cap of Bitcoin is 1.92 trillion. So even if you just say, look, let's look at the relative demand of these two assets. Bitcoin should be 4 times as big or 5 times as big as ETH. Let's just say, hypothetically, it was as simplistic as that. It's not as simplistic as that, but let's just say it is. Bitcoin has 4 times the market cap, which means that there's 4 times the demand for Bitcoin, or 4.5 times the demand of Bitcoin that there is for ETH. Why is the ETF lagging by 10 times? Right? Because Bitcoin has got 10 times, which means that on the spot market, the amount of demand for the asset increases the asset's price to $2 trillion. And for ETH, it's 400 billion. So there's a 5x differential, but in the ETFs themselves, there's a 10x differential. It kind of feels that there needs to be a catch-up trade into the ETFs. And when we get the catch-up trade into ETFs, the real money will actually start flowing into ETH. Also, as much as I do believe that Bitcoin is a much, much, much better asset than ETH, I don't know if Bitcoin is a $1.5 trillion more than ETH asset. And that's how the market's kind of pricing it. The discrepancy in market cap between Bitcoin and ETH right now is $1.5 trillion. That just feels like an arbitrage for me. It feels like the right trade now would be short Bitcoin, long ETH, based on these statistics. If you took that trade, effectively what you'd be doing is you'd be buying this chart. And if you bought this chart and this chart started to bounce, it would have meant that this chart has already bottomed. And if this chart has already bottomed, then that would mean that this is the beginning of alt season. So that is the second indicator that is telling us that it's probably alt season. And I think you'll agree with me that this data is a very, very, very interesting comparison of the fundamentals here. All right, then we move on to the next indicator of alt season, right? And the next indicator of alt season is Bitcoin dominance. And again, with Bitcoin dominance, we broke out of this range, which is a little bit out of character here. Now, generally, when you have range breakouts and then you trade back into the range, it means generally that it is an anomalous break, which means that it is a failed breakout because it's an anomaly, right? And so what we had a fake breakout here, and then we now back in the range. Now we may close back in the range and Bitcoin dominance may be back in the range. And then what happens is we start to drop. But remember, with Bitcoin dominance, it's slightly different. With Bitcoin dominance, you're looking for 2 things, okay? You're looking for, so first of all, when it comes to Bitcoin dominance, this cycle is playing out exactly like every other cycle. Nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. This is exactly what we have been expecting. And that's why I haven't even flinched the whole time. I'm so confident that alt season is actually going to come. And I'm actually buying all my alt season. So what you have here is you're looking for 2 things. Alt season is when Bitcoin dominance goes aggressively down. Bitcoin season is when Bitcoin dominance goes aggressively up. And where are we now? We are in the aggressively up part of the cycle. So slowly up, not aggressively up, slowly up. So we're going slowly, we're grinding up slowly. That is Bitcoin season. It's a very long season relative to alt season. Alt season is when Bitcoin dominance goes sharply down. So then the question becomes, okay, well then when can we expect Bitcoin dominance to go sharply down? Well, the first thing we know is that generally Bitcoin dominance goes sharply down after long grinds up. I'm going to go back into the weekly and I'm going to show you this on the chart. So let me just quickly get onto the chart here, just let the chart refresh. So if you look at generally what happens when Bitcoin dominance goes sharply down, just look at this period over here where we grinded up for 609 days, for 2 years before we started to move sharply down, right? And then even here, which is, you could kind of say here, we had a slow grind up and then we had a massive, massive, massive spike down over here. You're looking for alt season is when we're going to get those massive spikes down. Long grinds up, massive spikes down, massive spikes down. Okay, so when is that going to happen? Well, again, let's just go back to the old cycle. Let's go back to 2017. I think that's probably a better, do I not have it? I must have a 2017 chart. Researchers, just drop me in the show group a 2017 chart. But in the meantime, we'll look at the 2020 chart. So 2020, when did we get the big spike down in Bitcoin? 28th of December. 28th of December is a month away. So now this chart and this chart are pointing to about the same date, towards mid to end December, right? That is effectively when that happened. Now, I remember this. Let me try and get you that chart if the researchers would be so kind as to send it to us. I do have it here otherwise. Here it is. Here it is. Yeah, I've got it. So let's look at 2017. Very, very, very similar scenario in 2017. The spike down came on the 7th of December. So again, we're talking about 2-3 weeks away. 7th of December, we had a Bitcoin dominance top after a long grind up, long grind up, and then we came slightly down. What happened to Total 3 in that time? Well, Total 3 went up 5x in that time. Imagine the entire altcoin market cap going up 5x in that time, 5x. We'll repeat that when we get to that part of it. So even Ben Kahn says, look, in the worst case, Bitcoin dominance is going to go up to 66. We're already on 61, so that even it is. But the main thing to think about Bitcoin dominance is everyone thinks that the fact that Bitcoin dominance is going up is a bad thing. But it's not. It's actually a good thing. If you get Bitcoin dominance going up in a market where Bitcoin is going up, that is very, very, very positive. Why? Because that means that new money is coming into the market and it's buying up Bitcoin first. And that is why the altcoin dominance is coming up. Now, in this case, it's MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin. It's MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin. It is Marathon just announced that they raised $1 billion note to buy Bitcoin. It is, who else is buying Bitcoin? The ETF's buying Bitcoin. And what that does is it takes the Bitcoin dominance up. When you have the Bitcoin dominance going up while the price of Bitcoin is going up, that is an extremely, extremely, extremely bullish sign. And the higher dominance gets, the more money is coming into the market. And the more money is coming into the market, the more money there is that will flow into the altcoins afterwards. And that's what people don't understand. So this guy says it quite well. He says altcoins are dead. No, you had to listen carefully. The higher Bitcoin dominance rises, the harder it would fall. And when it does, altcoins would explode. Why? Because there's more money in Bitcoin. So you're looking for the signs. The signs are Bitcoin dominance going up in a market where Bitcoin is going up. Amazing. We pray for that to continue. Bitcoin dominance going up when Bitcoin is going down means people are running away from altcoins. People are scared. It's a very different type of scenario. Right. So that is what we're looking for when it comes to Bitcoin dominance. Okay, so when could this happen? We said it could happen very, very, very soon. And to reiterate that, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the RSIs. Remember, the RSIs tell us when something is overbought or oversold. And generally, when the RSIs go above 70, this key magic number here, we usually get them coming down. As you can see, happened over here in 2020. Remember I said to you the real dip came here. But you can see that the RSI went above 70 here. The RSI just went above 70 over here. And now it's either going to retest or maybe go above 71 last time before we actually start coming down, hopefully. So that is when you look at the dominance, right? So we've looked at a couple of indicators. One, we looked at the first part. We just looked at the simplistic charts for the people who like to trade simply. Then we looked at the ETH BTC indicator. Then we looked at the Bitcoin dominance indicator. All of them are pointing to alt season coming before the end of the year, right? All right, now let's look at another indicator that we have here. And that other indicator is BTC versus altcoin trading volume. Okay, because that's another indicator to tell us when this happens. So here's the alt season rules that I mentioned to you. If BTC goes up and dominance goes up, then that's a good thing. We want that. That's a good alt season rule. So the next thing we look at is we're going to look at altcoins taking over trading volume and mindshare. So let's actually lump trading volume and mindshare into the same thing. So look at the Bitcoin mindshare. Bitcoin mindshare is 46.7%. We will keep our eyes on this. This is in the last 24 hours. Let's look at it in the last 7 days. So again, 37%. We are now going to monitor the change in mindset on Bitcoin, right? That's what we need to monitor. And we need to monitor the change in volume, because mindset equals volume. First you pay attention, then you place the trade. And so here, what we're starting to see is that now, for the first time, we're actually getting volume coming back into the altcoins. You see it over here. If you look at the volume dominance, as you can see that the volume dominance of altcoins has actually taken a big spike over here, right? And if you look at it, yes, as I said to you, there was a big surge into the altcoins this week. So what we can see is, from a mindshare point of view and from a volume point of view, again, we have another indicator showing that if this is sustained, we may actually start getting an alt season. So that's 4 out of 4 indicators telling us that it's really time for alt season. Then there's another indicator, which is telling us that it may be a good time for alt season. And that is actually, believe it or not, that is actually related to the Fed. So if you analyze the Bitcoin dominance chart and you look to see when the sharp drops in Bitcoin dominance is or happen, it actually comes down to the Fed's balance sheet. And it comes down to whether the Fed is increasing liquidity by either increasing its balance sheet or decreasing its balance sheet, right? So increasing or decreasing liquidity. When the Fed increase their balance sheet, they are buying assets off the market and they are injecting liquidity into the market. When the Fed decrease the assets on their balance sheet, they are selling assets into the market and they're taking money outside of the market. And that actually happens to coincide exactly with Bitcoin dominance rises and falls, right? So here, what you can see, the Fed balance sheet went up, and so the Bitcoin dominance started to drop. Why? Because the Fed balance sheet went up when they started buying treasuries or buying assets out the market and injecting cash liquidity into the market, right? Same thing here. When the Fed balance sheet went down, BTC went up. And you can see this in the announcements that they made. I'm not going to bore you in the announcements, but in October 2019, the Fed basically decided that they're going to increase their balance sheet and put more liquidity into the market. This was obviously expedited by COVID. At Fed 2022, they made a decision to reduce the size of the balance sheet. And that really changed the Bitcoin dominance. So now what we're going to look at is we've got to look for clues as to whether the Fed is increasing or decreasing their balance sheet. Remember, we want them to increase their balance sheet. When you increase your balance sheet, you put more assets on your balance sheet. Which means you buy those assets off the market. When you buy those assets off the market, what it means is that you're putting more liquidity into the market that you're buying from. So we have a Fed meeting happening, 2 dates for the Fed meeting. The first date is before the inauguration, that's the 18th of December. And the next date is the 29th of January, which is after the inauguration. And so now what you got to ask yourself is, when will Powell actually start reducing, when will the Powell stop shrinking the balance sheet? So in other words, change of policy from shrinking the balance sheet to increasing the balance sheet, from taking money out the economy to putting money in the economy. And so look, there are some analysts that said it'll happen Q1 2025. Others say it'll happen now in December. So let's wait and see what happens. But either way, what we can see is that the Fed is actually a big indicator as to whether we're going to get an alt season or whether we're not going to get an alt season. And either way, we're talking about a difference of a month. So it's either going to be mid-December or in Jan. Either way, we're going to get, we are going into the cycle. So it's just a matter of time. It's just whether it happens before Christmas or whether it happens after Christmas. That's pretty much all it is. Okay, cool. So that is when we're going to get alt season. I think I've shown you really all the indicators. Whether you're looking at the charts, the Bitcoin dominance, the volume, the mind share, the ETH BTC, that is where you get the number from. And I mean, again, it could happen this FOMC, the next FOMC, but that really tells you when alt season is going to happen. And every single indicator is showing us that it's coming now and that we should have an amazing Christmas. And all our friends will also have an amazing Christmas. But the question then becomes, how big is this Christmas going to be? The first thing I want to say is, look, there will be people along the way that doubt that alt season is coming. And you need to say thank you to those people. And the reason why you need to say thank you to those people is because those people will create the buying opportunities that you will have for one last time before the alt season starts. I read this tweet by 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗓 who says, Bitcoin's incredible strength sows seeds of doubt in alts. And those seeds of doubt are what will create the next opportunity. Seen it happen repeatedly. With new reasons sprouting each time for why rotation won't happen, and yet just as the earth spins, we will rotate. And I know this because this is exactly what happens. You will get people that think that alt season never comes. They will sell their alts at this most critical time, 1 month before, and give us one last chance to fill up our bags before we get to Valhalla, which happens when the charts are very slow today. So they're ruining my high, I'll be honest. So they are slow today, right? It looks like lots of DJ. So this is what happens. This is what happens just before alt season happens. And in fact, let's actually just go straight into it. So a lot of people are saying, or Eugene says that alt season's actually begun today because of the ETH pump. I don't know if he's 100% right. I know it's here or hereabout. But then the question is, how big is this alt season actually going to be? Okay, I got news for you. This alt season will be bigger than any other alt season that we've ever had. And let me tell you why I say that. Because we have much more crypto knowledge and acceptance than we've ever had. We have a pro-crypto president. We have a pro-crypto regime. We are going to get pro-crypto regulation. We are also, if I can just look at the number of users that use our banter links to sign up for exchanges, they are at an all-time high at the moment. All-time high, which means that there are more traders than they've ever been before to spike up this alt season. So I think that when Alex Becker says about to see the biggest altcoin in history, I think he's looking at data. And I think he's looking at the exchange sign-up data, because if you look at the exchange sign-up data, you can see how many people there are. By the way, if you do want to sign up and you want to get 10% off your trading fees, and that's a lot of fees in a bull market, Bybit, BitGet, and if you want to sign up without any KYC whatsoever to one of the most amazing exchanges, and you can sign up to a trading competition, which I'm going to be participating in. Today is the last day. Today is the last day. Sign up. Put money into the trading account and let's go and operate in this competition together, and let's actually win it. Maybe we can win $1 million. Anyway, going back to it. So if you look at this alt season, it is going to be bigger. And again, I say this because I've seen data of how many users we have. And these users, some of them are just starting to come back and some of them are brand new users. But you can see people are looking for things like how to buy Bitcoin, how to buy crypto. You can also see that finally, the Google searches of Bitcoin and how to buy Bitcoin have actually started to go up. We also have crypto native DeFi apps becoming number one on the utility store. Number one on the Apple Store. You've got Dex Screener at 14 ahead of Wells Fargo and Bank of America. Okay, you want to tell me that retail ain't coming? I don't know so much, guys. I don't know so much. So I think that the retail are very, very, very much coming. And when the retail come here, what's going to happen is something very amazing. It's something that you need to know about. It's called capital rotation. What is capital rotation? It's when capital rotates out of Bitcoin into other coins. And the thing is that now you've got so much more capital that is going to rotate from Bitcoin into other coins that will drive probably what's the biggest altcoin season ever. And again, I'm going back to it over here, where this altcoin season was a 32x on the total index, and this part of the altcoin season was a 5x on the total index. That shows you how big and how violent an altcoin season can actually be. I don't think you guys are ready for it. And now you're starting to actually see the capital rotation, because what you're seeing is that whales are actually starting to offload their Bitcoin. Now, what is that when whales are offloading their Bitcoin? They're offloading their Bitcoin and they're starting to rotate their capital into other places. It will start off with ETH, and you've already started to see the rotation into ETH. And as I said to you, I think there's a big catch-up play between the ETH ETFs and the Bitcoin ETFs, but then it will flow and we'll get the capital cycle. Now, the capital cycle may be like a normal capital cycle. Let me just quickly find it for us. Or we may just go Bitcoin, Solana, major memes, hottest narratives. I don't know, but we're definitely going to get this capital cycle. So that is how big the alt season can actually be, right? And you need to make sure that you get in before these things go crazy, because when the alt season actually comes, it'll melt your face. And when I say melt your face, I want to just show you what face melting looks like when you're talking about big caps. These are not small caps. These are big caps. So if I look at Solana in the last alt season, starting from, just go to, what is this? I'm looking at a weekly. Let's just go from here. Solana went up from $20 Solana, one of the big caps, went to $260. Okay, came straight back down again, but that's a lesson in selling. Other tokens like Rune went from here, 38 cents. It went up 55x to $21. This is what's going to happen. It has to happen again. It's happened. Every other alt season has been exactly the same. And I think you're starting to see the capital rotation right now, because if you look at the Bitcoin price has gone up while the alts have actually absolutely exploded. Just look at Crown, look at Arbitrum, look at all these. In fact, let's just go to the bubbles and just look at it on the bubbles relative to the US dollar. So we are starting to see the capital rotation starting to come back. And it's going to happen really quickly when it does come back. So that is the alt season. I mean, just a quick one, probably worth mentioning. Yesterday, we did have the NVIDIA results. NVIDIA overperformed. They beat the expectations. But as we told you earlier in the week, right? As we told you earlier in the week, it was a buy the rumor, sell the news. Now, the reason why it was a buy the rumor, sell the news is because we told you, remember I did an NVIDIA show earlier this week and I said, look, be careful because it's always a buy the rumor, sell the news, but then there's a recovery. So the reason why it was a buy the rumor, sell the news is actually a good reason for crypto. And the reason why I say that is because they, in their guidance, said that they are, the reason why the stock price dipped. In fact, let me show it to you. It just makes it a lot easier if we can actually look at the stock chart. So if I look at the NVIDIA stock chart, they over-delivered on their earnings once again, exactly as we thought would happen. And if you look at it, they still got, let's go to the hourly just so you can see it much better. They're back up now. But if you look at the hourly, wow, these charts are very slow today. Oof. So if you look at the hourly, you'll see that there's going to be a big drop in the hourly. And the reason why there was a massive drop in the hourly chart here and NVIDIA dropped a lot was, here, you can see it all the way here. The reason why that happened was because in their guidance, they said, look, we just don't have supply to meet the demand for these GPUs, which is very good for crypto, specifically for things like Render, for things like Akash, for things like EOS, because they just don't have supply to train models. They just don't have supply to train models. Speaking of NVIDIA and models, so let's talk about two things. One, NVIDIA, so as I said, it was going to come down, and it did actually come down. One of our sponsors, which you guys know very well, is Swarm Markets, and they actually came out with a very cool thing. They said, look, it's NVIDIA results today, and people simply wait for the investments to go up or down. But if you had traded NVIDIA on Swarm Markets, because Swarm Markets is a marketplace for real-world assets, and they actually have a token, you would have earned a 21% API on your holdings. So you could have made 21% regardless. This is the future of DeFi. So you need to go to places like Swarm Markets, and you can trade these real-world assets in the crypto world, and you can earn yield at exactly the same time. All right, so that is, I think, when alt season is going to come. I do think that if Bitcoin continues to go up, we will get the life sucked out of the altcoins. But in the meantime, I think we have seen the signs that we've got probably alt season in a month or maybe even less than a month. So right now, now's the time not to doubt. Now's the time to be buying. It's probably the last chance to fill your bags before the train leaves. Before the train leaves, it's like the last time to fill your bags. I mean, should I talk about node sales? Do people buy nodes, Josh? Because there was that Rivals node sale that I told you guys. It starts today. If you guys are into nodes, check the link below. There's the Rivals node sale. I spoke about it the other day. It actually starts today. Otherwise, I will see you guys again tomorrow. I've got a massive Friday banter for you guys tomorrow. It's with 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗓. Very exciting. I mean, he's the guy that I've wanted to speak to for a long time. So I shall see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.